So many of our clients are looking to build a culture which supports greater simplicity in their business. They suffer from over complexity. It makes them slow and less agile, less able to respond to what customers need, harder to understand, all sorts of issues like that. And the tendency is to think about simplicity in relation to process, simplifying process. But of course, at Walking the Talk, we're much more interested in mindsets and behaviors and the shadow that a leader casts. So I want to talk a little bit about a leader's relationship to simplicity. And each one of you, each one of us has a relationship to simplicity. Each one of us has ways in which we make things complex because of who we are. And if a leader can understand their relationship to simplicity, they can do something to change it. And what we find is different leaders have a completely different relationship. It's based on different issues. So let me give you a few examples. So some leaders make things complex because they have a love of detail. They find it very hard to stay at the strategic level, and they delve too much into detail. And in delving too much into detail, I remember a particular client we had who used to send out lots of kind of emails which would ask for some incredibly detailed piece of information, and he wouldn't realize that it would then take 3 weeks of a whole lot of people to do a whole lot of work in order to respond to that email, and it probably wasn't actually that crucial in the first place. So a love of detail is one way that a leader will make complexity. Another completely different way is some people are just so incredibly intellectually smart that they have a love of the exploration of all these very complex ways of looking at things. So they're not good at just hearing a simple solution. They always add more and more and more into it, so it ends up becoming highly complex. And really what they're doing is satisfying their own love of trying to push something to a limit and see if it's got other nuances. Occasionally that's really valuable, but often it's not. So that's a completely different set of reasons for not doing well on complexity. Other people are not good on simplicity because they find it very hard to prioritize. Prioritization is a key element of building a simple culture. And prioritization requires trusting your own judgment. Because when you make a prioritization decision, you are rejecting and not going to be doing several other things. And so sometimes there is an avoiding element to complexity, which comes from trying to do everything so that you won't end up with making a mistake and missing something. So you add complexity by covering every possibility in order to stay out of trouble. Again, a completely different reason. And a fourth one that's quite common are people who are not able to delegate. So they hold on to things because they like control or because they don't want to burden other people. And so they add complexity because everything has to come up to them and they become a bottleneck because they're not able to successfully push decisions down and encourage people to resolve things laterally rather than escalating. So 4 totally different reasons why a leader will increase the complexity of an organization. And unless leaders are able to recognize that behavior in themselves and start to work out which applies to them and then start to build the muscle of doing it differently, the culture's not going to change. You can change all the processes in the world, but most complexity comes from the behavior and the mindsets that leaders have. And so we always like to go in on that angle in order to get things going, and we would encourage you to do the same thing. Good luck with that.